Welcome back to TinyBlueGames. My name is, of course, Csaw or Chris, and today we're talking about Guild Wars 2 in 2020. Today we are going to do something a little bit different that I like to call a Tiny Talk, which is kind of like a very small condensed version of our MMO comparison, where we talk primarily about one MMO. And today we're going to be talking about seasonal events, and particularly Halloween in Guild Wars 2. Now, you've already probably seen the title to this video that says, "Are Guild Wars 2 holidays the best?" And that's a particularly dangerous title to make when your channel revolves around a lot of different MMOs, where players are going to have their own particular feelings and probably like specific events more than others. Now, don't worry, I plan to be completely fair in this and sort of analyze the good and the bad of Guild Wars 2 holidays. I should also mention though, I am a ArenaNet or Guild Wars 2 partner. This doesn't mean I can't say anything bad about the game. It does, however, mean that there are two links in the description below. If you use either of those links, you will help out the channel. One of the links is to try out the game for free, and the other is to purchase the expansions. We'll start by discussing the things that I think Guild Wars 2 does well with holidays, and then afterwards we'll take a look at some of the bad parts as well. So the very first thing I want to say is that the events, particularly Halloween in Guild Wars 2, are stunning. They are just next level. Like, if you enter the map Lion's Arch for Halloween, you will be shocked compared to a lot of other MMOs that might not put the same care and attention into decorations. And yes, decorations are only a minor part of the game in terms of the actual playability of the event, but it does change the entire atmosphere of the world, or at least the zone. And when I say this, I mean like the actual loading screen has changed, the skybox has changed, the just complete feel of the entire city of Lion's Arch is completely different. The Mystic Forge is different, there'll be people running around in costumes, the actual city is taken over as an event every so often as well. So you're gonna feel the Halloween if you're in the city during the actual event. So the event's pretty, or spooky if you prefer, but is there actually fun things to do? Well, with most Guild Wars 2 events, there is a selection of different mini games, if you will, or mini activities that you can participate in. And Halloween has a good selection of different varied games that should hopefully have at least one activity that everyone enjoys. Some of my favorites include Mad King Says, The Labyrinth, and of course the Clock Tower Jump Quest, everyone's favorite part of Halloween. I'm just kidding, I hate it so much. If you haven't done it and you can run away, do. Please just go. Don't go in there, it's so horrible. They'll find you, get out! I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what that was. But moving on, there are so many different activities for you to participate in, and I think one of the best parts of the holidays in general is the fact that you can expect a lot of these activities to return each year. Whereas in a lot of other MMOs, there might be a certain activity that's really fun one year, but the next year you're not able to do that, and because of that, you kind of feel sort of like let down by the previous event's enjoyment. So I think it's kind of nice that they keep the same staple going on, and then sometimes they'll add something new if there's something that could be added. For example, with the Path of Fire expansion, they added mounts, and with that they've added a mount race to the Labyrinth, which I think is a really good way of them integrating new activities within the game that already exists. The final point I have on my pros list, and possibly my most important point for Guild Wars 2 holidays in general, is the fact that they have a mix of real-world holidays as well as holidays that are particular to the game in general. And what I mean by that is that they have things like Halloween and Christmas and Lunar New Year's, and just, you know, they'll have their own name for these kind of events, but they'll be very similar to real world events happening at the particular holiday time. But then they'll also have events such as the Super Adventure Box, which is just particular to Guild Wars 2, and it happens during April. So there's different events like that that add uniqueness to the world and make the world of Tyria actually feel different than our own. So we've listed a lot of good things, but what are the bad things about these events? Well, there are a few for sure, and one of the big things that I've mentioned a lot as good is also kind of a bad thing, and that's the fact that the events are very much the same each year. The only real thing that might change are certain cosmetic rewards that you might get, and if you aren't interested in the new cosmetic rewards, well, there's not a ton for you to do. So that's kind of one of the hard parts, and I think what's particularly upsetting is that in the early years, a lot of these events did get a bit of change each year. For instance, we had sort of some storylines that might be progressed, or for instance, with the Super Adventure Box, we had a few years where we would get new worlds, and then all of a sudden, development time focused on different areas of the game, and the events were placed kind of more in a repeat cycle. Now, that's not to say that there will never be new pieces added, and there hasn't been new pieces added. I would just say that each year when the event comes up, I generally assume that there's going to be nothing new except for some cosmetic rewards, and if there is something new, I'm super extra excited. Not the other way around, where a lot of other games maybe you might be expecting something new. So I also mentioned that the decorations in-game are spectacular. The issue with this is it is really only one zone that is impacted by the event, and there are some good and some bad things about this. I think the additional good part to this is that certain holidays have resonance with certain main cities, such as, Christmas being more of a Divinity's Reach thing, and Halloween being more of a Lion's Arch thing. So it does sort of add some personality that way, but it does make a lot of the rest of the world feel like nothing has changed. And I think that's kind of an issue where certain games will have decorations spread out through the entire world. Their decorations might be less spectacular, but it does hit a larger scale. Whereas with Guild Wars 2, you have a very condensed area that's super decorated, but a lot of the other parts of the world might not feel like anything special is happening. The final negative point I'd like to make is about the rewards themselves, and now don't get me wrong, the rewards that they add to the game for these events are usually really well done. Some of them might be contained in RNG bags or boxes of some sort that might make them difficult to get or very expensive, but they are usually pretty good. The issue is, if you don't enjoy these rewards, there are only a few unique ones that are added, and there might not be something that you're interested in. However, the gem store does tend to get a lot of love during holiday seasons, and if you're someone who doesn't love the mentality of gem stores and the idea of cosmetic items that could be used as in-game rewards being locked behind a gem store, it can be kind of frustrating. Now, in complete defense, the game doesn't have a sub fee and they have to make money somehow, so I think it's a very reasonable way for them to monetize these events. I think the other big important thing to understand here is that you can very easily convert gold to gems in this game, making it sort of so that you can farm the Halloween event to get gold to get that skin from the gem store that you actually want. So it does have a loop where it does reward you. It just might not feel as good as actually getting certain rewards from the Halloween content itself. Ultimately, I'd say that Guild Wars 2 has one of, if not the best holiday systems amongst most of the big MMORPGs. Now, it's absolutely not perfect. There are obviously some things that could be improved, as we discussed in this video, but I think overall it does a really good job. Now, in the comments below, I'd love to hear your own thoughts on Guild Wars 2's holidays, maybe particularly Halloween, since it's the spookiest time of the year, but I'd love to hear if there are different games that you prefer for holidays and why you prefer them. And more to that, are there different improvements that you think Guild Wars 2 could make to their holiday system that weren't mentioned in this video? If you did enjoy the video, consider tossing it a like. That really does help out for the YouTube algorithm. And if you're interested in Guild Wars 2 or just general MMO content, please consider subscribing and joining our channel and checking out our Discord. The link to that should be in the description as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.